Well, thanks very much indeed for that introduction. And I just want to say how pleased I am to be here. This is the 50th anniversary of the US-Irish Chamber, and it really is a landmark that is worth marking. I think as a new government, we have to make a choice, and we have made that choice. You can either spend your time nursing along the mistakes of the past and trying to manage the failed loans of the past, or you can seek to shape a new future. And we've made a decisive step that we are seeking to shape a new future. The very first act of government was to introduce the Jobs Initiative to help support business who are struggling in a difficult time. And I was really heartened when I went to the States last week, and indeed earlier in the year on the West Coast, to see the positive recognition in the United States of the efforts that Ireland is making. They are very much aware that we have public finance problems, as have many countries, both in the US and at home, fiscal problems. But they recognise that we are addressing those, and addressing those in a very disciplined way and hitting our targets year on year. They also, I think, recognise that what made this economy strong in the past continues to be a really attractive package, and that some of the most ambitious and creative companies in the world are continuing to invest in Ireland. And there is that recognition that the Irish model, yes, we made some bad mistakes, but the Irish model is basically sound. We are regaining our competitiveness, and there is every reason to see Ireland as a key gateway for those who wish to invest and open up markets in Europe. And I think that is a message that we as a people have to recognise. We are a small open economy. We depend on enterprise and investment, both from at home and abroad, to drive a successful economy. And perhaps we got distracted for a couple of years thinking that job creation could come from public sector or could come from selling property to one another at exalted prices. That's not the route for a small open economy. The small open economy must build on the model that has characterised the relationship between Ireland and the US over very many years. And that is one where Ireland has been a very significant beneficiary of companies who have brought new technologies, who have helped to grow clusters of strength in Ireland. And I think what's very heartening is to see not only do we have a 50% increase in US investment in the year to date this year, but we also have a 50% increase in the number of indigenous high potential startup companies who are working in the technology area, who have built relationships either with US companies here or see the capacity, as we did last week, to build relationships with US companies in the United States, bringing technologies that solve problems for companies, maybe much larger companies, of course much larger companies, but bringing technologies that have been developed at home here in Ireland to help solve problems that need to be solved both in the US and globally. And I think that two-way street, which has been the relationship here, is one that we must value. I think the report importantly points out that there are almost as many Irish jobs US jobs in Irish-owned companies in the United States as there are Irish jobs in US companies in the United States. And I think there is a time in political, when political times are difficult, there is a tendency to have a very simplistic view about the nature of trading relationships. But I was really heartened to see that despite some sort of protectionist type rhetoric that you hear, there is a very deep understanding that this relationship that we have developed is not one of Ireland having US jobs. It is about helping the growth of US companies with ambition on the global stage, and that we need to facilitate that just as we need the US to facilitate the growth of our indigenous companies. I think US companies here have really deepened not only the technology here, but they have helped Ireland on a road to building our own, if you like, research and scientific capability. When I was in the department last 14 years ago, there was really virtually no capability in R&D in our higher education institutions. That has dramatically changed. We're now in the top 20 in terms of research capability. We're boxing above our weight in terms of the investment and the impact that investment is having. And we have been able to bring in both indigenous companies and very significant US and other multinational companies into research clusters to help strengthen that stream. And every company that I go to, the issues that they continue to look for is the availability of the skilled workforce. And they need to see the continuing development of the skills in data analytics, in all the other areas that are now driving the world economy. And it has been very important, that relationship, to help transform our education system, to help develop that capability. And it is heartening to see that Ireland remains the best place to do business in Europe, as indicated by Forbes, remains the best place to get skilled workforce, as has been ranked by independent commentators. We have to try and protect that, as we have to protect every other dimension of our competitiveness package. And it is encouraging to see that we have made significant improvements in the last 2 years. Generally speaking, our costs are down about 10% if you use the GDP deflator, but there are still areas of problem, and we have as a government to address those. We are, for example, bringing in reforms to the legal services, which is an area where many reports have indicated that competition and competitiveness hasn't entered that part of the sheltered sector. We recently reformed our own wage setting mechanisms, which is in the process of being re-presented to the Dáil. It's, again, a system developed in the 40s, but not appropriate to the challenges of today. So, this government is in no way complacent about the challenges. We have to rebuild. But I think what is heartening is to see, what has happened in the last couple of years. Having had 6 years of declining export market share as an economy, which is, poison to a small open economy, we are now rebuilding our market share. And that has been driven by both overseas companies and indigenously owned companies. And we have to seek to build those linkages even stronger for the future. Perhaps the traditional linkage was, as people were talking about, it was about fairly basic manufacturing and having linkages to some sub-suppliers. Now we need to have a more sophisticated model of linkage, which we also have to develop. The linkage across research, through the education system, through skills, through technology transfer, through supporting emerging companies, indigenous-based companies. I think there is lots of scope, I believe, over the coming years to build deeper relationships between the US investment community and our own. There's also, I think, opportunity for Ireland Inc., if you like, to support the leaders of US multinationals within their own group in terms of becoming more strategic to the long-term future of their group. I mean, I think clearly we need leaders rather than followers at the top of multinationals that are based here, so that they are identifying the next hill that has to be climbed in terms of their business. And there is a role for the IDA and for the government to support that sort of lead thinking and to make sure that there aren't obstacles that stand in their way, and that we develop the enablers to make that happen. So I believe it's 50 years of a very strong and worthwhile relationship. We are at a difficult time, and it has been a turning point. But I think what is heartening is that we are negotiating that turning point. And we have strengths here in Ireland that would be the envy of many other European countries grappling with difficulties. The clusters that we have developed across different technologies, whether it's life sciences, medical devices, ICT, these are giving us great strength. And as some of those technologies converge and, I suppose, develop the flowering of new product, I think we are well placed to be a part of those converging technologies and the new opportunities they open up. So, I'm delighted to be here to be a party to this, I suppose, celebration and a very important publication to remind people of the strength and the value of this relationship. And, we look forward to deepening that relationship over time. And, hopefully we will be able to look back, we won't say in another 50 years, but in another 5 years, and say, that this was a very significant period when Ireland restated its commitment to enterprise being the core driver of success in a small open economy, and that what has distinguished us in the past remain the characteristics that we are going to build upon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.